What's with Shonen Jump series, starting with the letter M, being in the middle of the Shonen Jump lineup, and just being okay?
The M stands for mediocre. It's just okay. They're fine. And also, M is the very center of the alphabet, so it is just smack dab in the middle.
So we just read Mashle.
And at first, the manga kind of tricked me because when I saw it, I thought it looked a lot like Mob Psycho or One Punch Man, so I thought at first that it was something new from One, but it's just not funny like One's work is. But doesn't the art look the same? Isn't it weirdly similar? Or am I just crazy?
I do see the similarity, especially between MASH and Mob. Although I would say that their personalities are a bit different. I would say that MASH is more deadpan and Mob is more easygoing.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I want to say that Mashle's art is more technically proficient than One's art, but One has so much more flair, and especially his layout, especially in Mob Psycho, looks really good. So I almost would say that One's art is better. I don't know, maybe it's comparing apples to oranges a little bit. So in Mashle, we have Mash, who is a no-Mash in a Mash world. He's a buff boy.
Yeah, and he really likes cream puffs, and that's funny, somehow.
This series really made me want to eat some cream puffs. I was Googling recipes earlier this week.
Yeah, his love for cream puffs just leapt off the page for you, did it? It's frustrating. I mean, I didn't love this, but you said that you read on and that it's actually good. But this first chapter really wasn't that good, now was it? The gags fell flat. There is one spot that was funny.
What part did you think was funny?
You know which part. He's bouncing up the energy ball and dodging like a pro.
Yeah, that's the one part that got a laugh out of me. So the jokes didn't really hit for us in this chapter, but I also think that the reason why this chapter didn't really stand out to us that much is just because they had to do a lot of character building for the relationship between Mash and his parental figure, Regro Von Dead. I love that name so much, by the way. And because they had to set up this dramatic backstory about the world that they live in, it was just sort of by the books characterization, which didn't really make it stand out that much. And then combined with some jokes that were just okay, kind of left with this just okay impression.
Especially like by the end, I could see that, there's more story coming and it could get better.
He goes off to Hogwarts
to learn witchcraft and wizardry. Okay, no, there's two parts that made me chuckle. He offers that bitten cream puff to a cop, and I did enjoy that.
That's true. All of the villains in this series are magic eugenicists, specifically in this chapter, police eugenicists.
Death to all no-mages, les non-magiques.
Which is a fine setup. There is some dramatic tension there.
Do they kill babies?
I feel like there's the implication, yes.
When do you know when someone doesn't have magic?
It's the mark, if they have the mark on their face or not. Mash doesn't have one.
They're baby-killing cop eugenicists. That's crazy.
I think that the way that the gags played out with the police was actually why I didn't think that this series was that funny. I found the cops reacting to Mash sort of overextended, and it's the classic gag setup for Japanese comedy where you've got wacky man, straight man, wacky man, straight man. And everything wacky that MASH does is funny, and then it snips over to the police officers, and then they have to be like, whoa, this is so wacky, what's going on here? It kind of took the wind out of the sails for the joke.
Yeah, the first joke when he's opening the door and it breaks off the hinges.
Yeah, that was another scene where it was really funny when MASH just smashes the door off the hinges, but then Regro's reaction to it just kind of got played out after a while.
What was his name again? Regro Von Dead?
Yeah. He's an old, slightly magical man with a heart of gold. Just to talk about the art a little bit, what did you think about the series riffing off of Harry Potter?
I'm not sure if it's riffing off of Harry Potter. I don't know. I guess with the school of witchcraft and wizardry he's inevitably going to. But yeah, they have the Diagon Alley scene. I don't know. I feel like it's just any sort of wizarding world marketplace. Does it have to be Harry Potter-esque?
You're only saying this because you haven't read the chapter where they just literally play Quidditch.
Yeah, okay, then apparently it was on purpose. It wasn't just a Wizarding World trope, it's just Harry Potter. Okay.
I see a lot of strong references to Harry Potter, especially there's this one scene that looks exactly like Diagon Alley, and then the castle at the end is very reminiscent. Also, the castle at the end was my favorite illustration in the chapter. I actually really like the way that that castle looked. But I think that the similarity is actually a positive for a series like this that's so focused on comedy. When you play with this popular consciousness of Harry Potter in a wizarding world, including something that's so popular in pop like Harry Potter, allows the author to make not only just normal gag jokes, but also jokes at the genre or meta jokes on these types of stories. So what would you rate the first chapter of Mashle?
Do I give it a 2? Do I give it a 3? I don't know. I didn't think it was very funny, so that makes me want to give it a 2. But at the same time, I have no real feeling, positive or negative, towards it. So I guess I would have to give it a 2.
I also gave the series a 2 out of 5, although, like Momo said before, I've caught up to it, actually. I've read all the chapters that are out, and I really like it. The comedy gets me sometimes, but it's still not my favorite part. But I really like the action scenes. I think that the action scenes look cool. Then they have that comedic flair, which adds to it. So I like it more, but this first chapter just didn't really hit for me. So, yeah.
If it was just recreating Harry Potter scenes, that would be hilarious. I want to see Mash fighting Malfoy.
That's basically chapter 2, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, maybe I need to read some more.
You have to read up to chapter 7, which is the Quidditch chapter. It's just amazing. Okay, so the next series we're talking about is Mission Yozakura Family. This series is all about assassination family. That's the bit, and that's what it does.
This is another one that I don't think the first chapter is very effective, but for different reasons. There's just a lot going on. They introduce the entire family and this whole backstory. There's so much, and you can't take it all in.
Honestly, I'm surprised that the chapter worked as well as it did. I thought this chapter was decent.
Yeah, thinking back on it.
Because not only do they have to set up... Okay, wait, I'll talk about the premise a little bit. So we have Taiyo, who's just a boy at school. He lost his family in a car accident in a young age, and because of that, he's always been very reclusive and withdrawn from his classmates, except for his childhood friend, Mutsumi. The conflict in the series starts when it's revealed that, this is kind of a lot to take in, the vice principal at their school, who is a creepy stalker...
Stop there. I forgot that he was the vice principal, because that doesn't matter at all. Anyway, sorry, I just had to say that being part of the description was shocking for me.
So the vice principal, who is her brother, the girl's brother, is revealed to be psychopathically obsessed with the main girl, who is his younger sister. There's actually this great scene which just struck me, where the main character is thinking in his head like, oh, this guy's really creepy. We should do something about this guy. And as the reader, I'm like, yeah, do something about this guy. Like, isn't this a problem? But it's quickly glossed over because the main character is spirited away to the Yozakura family household. The first part of the story about his background of his family dying, his relationship with this girl, the brother vice principal assassin guy, that's almost a full chapter 1 in itself.
Exactly. And then they go into this house and they introduce a whole cast of characters to you. Marshmallow's there, and someone's sitting in a garbage can. And there's a lolly. Is she a lolly?
Yeah, she is kind of a lolly type character. I like to think of her as Biscuit from Hunter x Hunter. You know, Biscuit makes her grand debut. Momo, you don't know who I'm talking about because you haven't read more of Hunter x Hunter.
I do not. And then there's another one that I don't remember.
Yes, there is Headphone Sister.
Oh, and then the guy who wears pajamas.
Yes, and then Cat Kigurumi Boy. You know who we forgot? There's one more character. Can you remember the last character?
Who am I missing? I don't know.
They have a dog. There's just also a dog.
What? Do I believe you?
Trust me, I drew a dog.
Yeah, I guess I kind of remember that. I guess he didn't play as a pivotal role as every other character in this first chapter.
So now we set up the true conflict of the first chapter, which is, for some reason today, on this day,
And not before. They've been friends forever, but now it's gone too far.
the brother is going to kill our main boy.
They say there's a reason that he's doing it now, and I don't think that there is. I think he just decided.
Hey, the plot's gotta start somewhere. So they come up with this scheme that Taiyo has to marry Mutsumi. Basically, the brother can't, like, there's no infighting within the family. Which brings back to the real conflict of the story, which is that Taiyo is so uncomfortable with this idea.
Yeah, he's afraid of losing more.
The brother comes in and attacks, and this is what really surprised me. Not only does each character kind of get their little introductory moment when they first walk into the house, but they each get their own fight scene later in the chapter as well. Trash Can Boy is like a chemicals guy, and he's also really strong and buff. He's my favorite character, by the way, the guy with the trash can on his head. He's like a 10 out of 10.
But he's like a scaredy cat. Some of these people are a bit cliched. The little girl is super strong. The big guy is afraid of everything.
And I'll be showing this in the video. Basically, all of these characters, they all remind me of someone else. Some to lesser degrees. I think the only one that doesn't really remind me of anyone are like the main characters. The brother reminds me of other people, but he's like a fine character. But all of the family members, there is this tropiness to them. To be fair, a man living inside of a trash can, that's something.
It has been done before, hello, Sesame Street, but not in manga, I don't think.
Which leads to a really cool scene with the older brother and the big confrontation between the older brother, Mutsumi, and Taiyo, where his spy assassin ability are these iron threads. I think he's referenced to be like a spider, which mirrors his relationship with his sister where he tries to trap her. And there is this really cool shot at the end of the main character Taiyo sort of reaching through these steel strings to grab the ring and then agree to marry Mutsumi. High school marriage, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Let's just glance over that one. But that was a really cool shot where he clenches his fist onto the ring.
My final thoughts on this first chapter is that this manga artist is an action artist, and all of the action scenes were enjoyable. There was a lot of really fun action switching back and forth. Obviously, this chapter was very crowded, and it did a fine job at balancing this, but it was a lot to take in with all of these characters.
It does too much of telling and not showing. Like, they tell us that the brother is crazy, and they don't need to say it over and over again like they do how crazy and obsessed over his sister he is. I feel like it should be clear just through his actions. Also, a part that I just don't like is that the main girl, Mutsumi, she isn't a spy. She has no spy powers. So she's like the lamest main character. And she's just there to be protected and cute. I think it would be cooler if she was like an actual spy.
She is kind of damseled a bit. I've read a little bit further ahead, but I wonder if that'll be straightened out.
And then I guess the main guy is going to become a spy. Join spy family, become spy. Yeah, everything's so rushed. I wish it weren't. Isn't that so frustrating that you have to get your idea out there as quick as possible and get into the story, or else you're going to be canceled?
The real reason why it felt rushed is just because there were so many characters in the family, it's tough because that's the appeal of the story. It's building into this ensemble cast where I imagine that like each chapter moving forward will have a focus on a different member of the family, and they'll all kind of get their arc and their moment to shine.
Think of other places that build the cast of characters. We were talking about Rosario Vampire, that slowly builds up the whole cast. Fruits Baskets, you don't get to see the entire family all at once. Why do they have to dump them all onto us all at once?
It's true. So with all of these considerations, I gave this first chapter a 3 out of 5. Since I've read both more of Mashle and Mission Yozakura Family, I would completely flip-flop these scores. But just based off of the first chapters, that's the impression that I got.
What would I give it? Maybe a 2, maybe a 3. I'm kind of on the same fence. Maybe this one I'm a bit more negative towards than Mashle. So I'll give it a solid 2.
Let us know what you thought about these series if you gave them a try. Next up is going to be a review of Mitama Secure Ray T, Spirit Busters, and Mori King. Get pumped.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye.